Hi everyone, it's been a while since I posted last. For anyone who was wondering, I was busy moving into a much better apartment, one that's a lot closer to where I work. Now that I'm situated, I've decided to post a different kind of video on this channel, instead of just talking about considering it. Since we're coming up on the 30-year mark of me living with a chronic illness, specifically type 1 diabetes, I decided to post a little observation I've made over the past few years. You could call it a lament over the state of the diet soda drink market, at least here in the United States. I've been drinking diet soda for so long that I could offer up a long list of opinions on individual diet sodas I've tried over the years, but that would take way too long and I wanted this to be just one video. As this video continues, you'll see images of some of the drinks I've tried that I would say are my favorites. I like going to different stores whenever I happen to travel somewhere to see what's available. And once every few years, the once in a very blue moon that I have that kind of spending money on hand, I like to shop online for rare diet sodas that are still available, including some from foreign countries, as you can see in the picture here. That was a great selection. But one thing I've definitely noticed as of the past 10 years or so, the variety of diet sodas in many places has shrunk to a very sad degree. I think there are a few reasons for why it's shrunk so much. Bear in mind, this is just my opinion, and I've decided to make it easy on myself by not bothering to back any of this with facts beyond what I've seen with my own two eyes going around to gas stations and grocery stores. The first thing I think is responsible is the growing prevalence of energy drinks, especially at gas stations. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of low-carb and zero-sugar options when it comes to energy drinks, but I hate that it's swallowed up so much of the overall drink market. Not to mention these are basically the equivalent of unfiltered cigarettes for the non-alcoholic beverage market. Pretty sure the hypertension issues I've had to deal with over the past few years are due to the amount of energy drinks I've had since they became so common. And with the fact that I've been cutting back on them lately, I've noticed I get fewer stress headaches, and my sleep patterns have become a lot more ordinary. Well, and I've been having more memorable dreams, too. The second and most immediate thing is the impact of the pandemic on many businesses worldwide, shutting down smaller soda manufacturers, while also forcing larger ones to cut back on their product lines. I think one of the more upsetting ones for me was the Coca-Cola Company's decision to discontinue Tab. Granted, for a long time, possibly the entire existence of Tab, it was more of a niche product. It was originally designed for people who were watching their sugar intake, and controversy surrounded it for a long time over the decision to use saccharin-based sweeteners in the formula. This was because saccharin products were found to be carcinogenic in lab rats, and there were concerns over it possibly having the same effect on people, human people. As it turned out, the amount of saccharin in a single can of Tab wasn't likely to be harmful to the average person. Nonetheless, the product never really gained mainstream popularity, and in 2020, Coca-Cola decided to drop it. I hated seeing it go because growing up, it was the first attempt to bring the classic Coke flavor to people who drank diet soda. And I loved the bittersweet aftertaste that it had due to the saccharin. For a similar taste experience, you could try putting some sweet and low into some tea or coffee, and you'll see what I mean. Speaking of sweeteners, I think the third reason has to do with the fears that many people have over the effects that sweeteners could potentially have with long-term consumption. Oddly enough, for all the testing and risks, there is no definitive proof that most artificial sweeteners are really all that harmful. Only sugar alcohol-based ones such as erythritol or sorbitol, most of which are known for causing laxative effects. Recent studies have shown other possible concerns with erythritol, but I'd like to point out that it's not even used in sodas all that much anymore. The only brand I ever recall seeing it used in was Zevia, and even then, they don't use it anymore. Before getting to the final reason, I'd like to stop for a second and talk about another thing I lament: changes in some sodas that affect the taste. Mostly, I've noticed that many companies are moving away from the use of artificial flavors, which seems to stem more from the widely held belief that natural flavors are better. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. In fact, some studies I've read over the past 7 years or so suggest that using some of the natural sources for flavors is actually more environmentally damaging than creating them artificially. I've noticed that when some diet sodas jump to all-natural flavors, they just haven't tasted as good. This is especially notable with Canada Dry's Zero Sugar Ginger Ale and A&W's Zero Sugar Cream Soda. In the latter's case, it was my favorite diet soda as a kid, because the artificial vanilla flavor in it was just that enticing. Don't get me wrong, I like the version of the soda that's out now, but it's just not the same. Some other diet sodas took some getting used to when they switched formulas. When Diet Big Red was replaced with Big Red Zero Sugar, I noticed it had a less enjoyable smoothness compared to the original diet version. Thankfully, they've refined the flavor some since. Now, onto the final reason I think has to do with diet soda's market shrinking. I've noticed that there's been a lot of name changes in the products, shifting away from the use of the word diet and towards the zero sugar labeling. While yes, it's more factually correct to use that new label, it has bothered me that a lot of people who complained about the use of the word diet are people who largely ignore the fact that even though diet sodas were initially marketed towards people cutting back on their sugar intake, it was also a crucial step in making people with diabetes feel less left out. And unfortunately, that kind of thinking seems to have seeped into a lot of approaches to marketing products, both for diabetics and non-diabetics. Whoever you are, regardless of whether your intentions were well-meaning or incredibly selfish, I for one can say I never said you could speak for me. Leave my part of the beverage market alone. You're not helping, and some of us have no delusions about living forever. Quit trying to take something from us that makes our lives a little more enjoyable. In conclusion, I hope that new, more inventive sugarless sodas keep coming, as I intend to keep trying as many as possible.